how do you articulate that?
Right.
How do I
Right.
articulate that I love people so much that I want to see them win as much as I want to win with them, that I don't want to stand on top of the mountain by myself. I want everyone with me. And that my legacy is really my tribe, and my legacy has nothing to do with my title company. It just holds all the things I value within it. It's just a shell. I mean, capitalism and money and all that shit. I mean, I don't care. I mean, change the rules tomorrow and there's no money. I'll live and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
I won't miss my house or my cars or any of that shit. I'll be fine.
Hard work, hard work, that's what they say. Hard work, I earn my pay. Hard work, do it every day.
Welcome to another Work Ethic podcast, and I'm here today with Jim Schaefer, who I actually got to meet at VCon, which was, well, we'll probably get into a little bit, but a conference that was run recently with the VFriends community. So we met there and really loved hanging out with his brother. And so he's the owner of Quality Title, and I actually was very curious asking him about what he saw coming with titles in general, with the kind of blockchain and NFT space. I guess you're also running a little bit of a crypto mining company. I'm really curious to hear more about that. But what I'm going to do now is just toss it to you, man. Why don't you let you kind of flesh out your intro, kind of frame yourself for everybody, and then we'll just kind of take it from there.
Sure. I started off with Quality Title. My mother started the company back in '97. So I was finishing my degree and jumped into Quality Title. That's what I've been doing ever since. So I own Quality Title. I have an ownership in a mining company for crypto. And, and really Gary Vee has been my path to the metaverse and this whole journey. I mean, that's really can sum up every single thing we talk about today. I mean, literally, I was just doing TikToks today talking about 1 year ago, I didn't even have a crypto wallet and I didn't have an NFT wallet and I didn't know what any of that was. And now, literally 1 year later, it's a whole different landscape and a whole new world. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Other than that, we're just going to dive into variants of that comment.
I love it. No, I love it, man. And I do. I want to kind of navigate, and I actually love I want to pick up what stood out to me right when you started was Mom started the company. So I want to hear a little bit about Mom. And then you were finishing your degree. So I was like, well, what were you studying? So go back in time a little bit. Tell me, actually, let's do this. Let's go even further than that. What is because this show really themes itself around work. And like, I'm curious about our relationship with work in general as human beings, right? Not just jobs necessarily, but things that we work at, things we invest in, things we sacrifice for. So like, what are your earliest memories of, let's say, how the word work took on meaning in your life? So go back as far as you can remember and go, this is what I remember how I came to understand what work was.
I always loved physical labor, right? My dad was an engineer, so had one hell of a work ethic. And so, it taught me that work was a serious thing for sure early on. But the thing that struck me the most about that term is I always loved it. I always loved to get my hands dirty. I always loved to be willing to kick my own ass to get somewhere. Do we cuss on this? Are we allowed to cuss?
Absolutely. Here? All you want. Let's go.
To kick my own ass. And I always loved that ever since I was a little kid. So I was designed to do what I would suppose would be like the trades or blue collar or something like that. But that was truly what I loved. I mean, I love breaking a sweat. I love picking up a shovel. I love seeing something, transform in front of me. So to me, work was putting in effort to literally change the look of something was how I would perceive that when I was young.
Man, it's really it's a really good way to define it, though, putting in effort to change, to create change, to change something, so Dad was an engineer. What kind of engineer?
He was a mechanical. Yep.
And then
an automotive company.
So you love doing physical labor, getting into these things. Give me like, I don't know, sketch out a couple like things that you like. What kind of things did you do early on?
So I mean, I'm talking from the very earliest age. To me, work was my dad, being an engineer, would have these lists, and he would have lists, and he would tell me, okay, down and around the block, there is a bunch of limestone sitting in this creek bed, and I'm going to give you $1 for every cart you bring back and dump in our creek bed. Right? And I would spend days running my little garden cart. If you remember, like metal garden carts, right?
Yeah.
Ride in them all the time too.
Yeah.
So I would run down around the corner, I'd fill it, I'd pull it back, I'd come down the hill, I'd dump it, and I'd check one. And then I would do that until basically I was exhausted. And that was one of the things I would do. I mean, there was another thing I remember. I would get 25 cents for a 5-gallon bucket of dirt. If I went down to the bottom of the hill, he's an engineer, and I would scrape up the silt that all had washed down and then take it back to the top and dump it out. I get 25 cents per bucket. So it was literally stuff like that.
I love this.
And I hated like I hated little meticulous crappy jobs. Like I wanted the physical.
Yep.
Like I wanted to cut down trees. I wanted to chop wood. I wanted to move something. It was the physical labor that I always enjoyed. And then finding the perfect process of executing that job. So this starts to translate. I mean, this does start to translate into my adult professional life, but I always had a love for finding, you know, that specific shovel or that specific amount of weight, finding the efficiency of a task. That always appealed to me too. So I guarantee you, I had it down pat as the best way to execute that 25-cent bucket by the time I was done. So there was always that built into it. I mean, even to this day, if I'm pressure washing the deck, there's a best way to do it. If I'm spraying down, I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. My brain seeks that perfect process, that efficiency. But anyway.
I love it. So, okay. So Mom started the company in 97. So at this point, when you're young, that company's not around yet. So what is mom doing?
She stayed at home for quite a while until we got into high school. And then mom was always good at sales. So, I mean, she'd like sell makeup or, you know, then she got into real estate. She was selling real estate, and then she was doing closings. So she was doing actual escrow transactions or closings for another title company, and they stiffed her on her invoice. So mom
says, I'll start my own damn company. Yeah.
Like, screw it, I'm starting one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was working at Olive Garden, and I realized that working for her would be better for my resume, regardless of what I did, as I was finishing my degree in business, you know, management, administration, human resources, stuff like that.
Okay, so you did a business degree.
Yeah. Yep. So that was it. Once I started, I never stopped. There was a few moments where I thought I was going to leave and move on, but the universe kept pulling me back until it became like I just put everything into it. And eventually I took over her partnership. Eventually I took over the whole company, and it suited me. I mean, it's a business that suits. So
now tell me a little bit about that business, about that field. I don't know a tremendous, I mean, obviously, so I got a house once upon a time. I know like what a title, you know, but like, tell me about it from like the industry side.
Well, I mean, real quick, title insurance in itself is, okay, everything in this world is personal property. Only real estate is considered real property. So when you think about insuring it and insuring ownership, it changes when you can't move it. There's a historical relevance to the real estate that matters. So right now, if I wanted to deed you my neighbor's house, I could deed it to you right now. It wouldn't mean shit because I don't own any part of it. But basically, I'm saying that whatever part I do own, it's yours. So therefore, title has to come in and actually verify, validate, and vet, you know, the parties involved, the claims against the property, making sure taxes are paid, making sure mortgages get paid off, making sure there's no judgments that attach to the property. We are, in essence, unlike any other insurance, we insure from now back. Now, that's going to play some pretty interesting correlations to blockchain.
Yeah, I'm curious because,
So, for sure. I mean, for sure. So anyway, that's what we do. So then, other than that, we handle escrow, we handle money, we take all that money in, and then we divvy it out as the purchase agreement stated or the refinance contract states, and everybody gets paid their little bit, and then we guarantee that you own it. So if someone ever said, well, I own a part of that house, the title company, would step in and say, well, we will defend that because we guarantee that it's your house. I mean, that's really how it works. Now, in the hierarchy of the socio-human resource, everybody interpersonal, like the environment that is real estate is the title company is at the bottom of the pyramid.
Okay.
So although we know the most detail and in some states they actually are lawyers. So although I know the most real estate law, when it comes to the hierarchy of business, I'm at the bottom.
Okay.
So your real estate agent is at the top and your lender is somewhere in the middle. I mean, this is very, I mean, obviously there's other spinoffs, but that's the generic reality of it. So how do you get business when you can be bullied and talked down to and blamed for and become the scapegoat for, like in the hierarchy of people, you know, we're the nerds that get the books kicked out of our hands. But to get the business, we have to go talk to the prom kings and prom queens and the high school athletes and that's how the hierarchy works. And I only bring it up because it is essential in navigating that part of business to actually be good at title. Like, how do you be an alpha male and yet never really flex?
Right.
And it's fascinating in its execution, but I was naturally good at it. And honestly, for most of my life, I just denied that I was an alpha male because there's no way I could be one and actually execute my job correctly. I only got better at it when I realized, well, that's not actually how that works at all, because my definition of alpha male was the meathead in the gym. Not the guy looking out for his tribe, not the guy looking out for his clients. So once I got a better understanding of what that meant, it only played even better. But it's crucial to understand your role in this game. You want to kick me, I take the kicks. I don't kick back unless I simply am like defending the rights of my employees or my own integrity, kind of a thing. But
anyway. Now your like jobs come through the agents. Is that like
in Indiana, that's how real estate is controlled. If you sell a house, you control the title order, and so you, the realtor, send me the order. So you control how the money goes and who gets that action.
So those are your customers, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm business to business. I don't ever go to the public. You don't hear about title because we don't advertise to the public.
Okay.
They don't know title well enough. They let someone else determine for them. If it's a refinance, the lender sends me the order. If it's a purchase, it's the realtor that sends me the order. Very rarely does a consumer out in the open market say, well, I want to use that company over that company, and usually because it's family. So I mean, that's how it's laid out. So it's all business to business for me.
And you mentioned employees. How big of a team do you have now?
30 something employees, and I would say we have 7 offices. We just opened 2 we're opening 2 in like the next couple of months.
Really?
But I think it's 7.
Oh, now you're in Indiana, is that right? Yeah. And are they all right there in Indiana?
I got one that's a half an hour from Louisville all the way up to the north side of Indianapolis. Nice. And then kind of all in between, west, south, southeast. I mean, we cover quite a geographic area in Indiana.
Man. That's and did mom do that like a long time before passing it on?
And I'll say Gary V, he's been so good at kind of like explaining the things that I just did, like, or just the life that I lived and never saw it that way. My mother was amazing at what she did because on day one, I was making decisions for the company. And if you think about companies that are passed off to their children, typically it's like, I got one foot in the grave before I'm going to let you have any kind of control. And my mother did me such a solid for me to at the very beginning have a say, at the very beginning to offer my advice and counsel, and that gave me a head start in business. So no, we always had just one main office in kind of on the south side of Indianapolis. And the reason why I've got all these offices is because of the people that have come to work for me. So once she retired, I mean, even after she retired, I was 29. I didn't start opening really other offices until I was probably 35, 36, maybe 10 years ago.
Okay.
But you don't put a pin in the map and say, I want to be there. you hire somebody who has a client base there,
Mm.
and you build an office around them. So you're building the office around people, not trying to get into that area unless
Mm.
you're hiring to be in that area. So I've never done it that way. So the reason why I have the offices I have is because of the people that I brought in necessitated me having offices essentially in their backyards.
Yeah.
And that's how all this is come to be.
It's a really cool organic kind of process
Absolutely.
to grow that. Now, you mentioned earlier there being like some implications with blockchain. And by the way, I will just say, like, maybe feel free to educate a little bit. Don't assume that everybody that listens to this
Mhm.
show has kept up with what's happening in that space. We
Sure.
talk about it from time to time, but like, what do you see happening there? I mean, how do you see these intersecting?
Well, first of all, I even posted a TikTok, like, I don't know, Monday or Tuesday, and this guy jumps on and says some stuff about, you're overplaying it and all this is just peddling crypto. And, we tech people laugh at this because it's not even, I mean, although the blockchain is interesting, everybody's just overhyping this. And like, I was stunned. Like, I had to wait 24 hours before I replied, because I'm like, that has got to be one of the most short-sighted, ignorant comments I have ever heard. And so really, why are you saying that? Why is someone who's using all these big words and putting them together where it's pretty grammatically sexy,
Mhm.
saying some of the dumbest shit I've ever read? But here's why. You want to hang on to control, your pride, your fears, your misunderstandings, or your lack of vision. It's, to not embrace. It's like people saying the internet was a fad. It's like people saying that they're never going to get a cell phone, but multiply that by 1,000. That's what the blockchain is. It's also Atari, when now we're using VR goggles. So you're looking at blockchain technology through an Atari 2600, and you're trying to say that you understand how it works and how it's going to affect the universe. It's literally asinine. I mean, it's asinine. So the first thing you have to do is get a broad enough perspective and look at what it actually means and what it can do. So if you go into blockchain, right, it's immutable, it's chronological, it is literally fraud free, it is efficiency at light speed, it executes faster than we could dream of doing. The smartest person that works for your company. The blockchain is going to eliminate the need for title insurance in 50 years. Title will not exist. So people like that who make those kind of comments can't admit essentially their own mortality, their own professional mortality, because that's exactly what that is for me. Now, let's look at that from a practical perspective. The money aspect will be much easier, wires in, money out. I mean, when it comes to blockchain in my business, the money aspect on a blockchain transaction, that's going to be fairly simple. What really the trick is to upload billions, perhaps trillions of bits of information that is public domain now, that is recorded documents for a history of every single piece of real estate, back to the point where you can guarantee no claims. Right. But that's why even when I started this game, I still had to go down. When I started in the 90s, I had to go down to the county recorder's office. I had to open a giant plat book, and I had to look for Schaefer. And I would have to find me in a ledger, a printed ledger, handwritten, and find my data to create my title search, to give that information, to create a commitment to be ready to insure. So we are talking about a lot of data. But but then there was also counties where, okay, from 68 to 98, I have to go through the books. And from 98 to present, I get to use the computer, right? I mean, we've all seen that, where some information is truly analog, other is digital. Well, eventually the blockchain is going to do that same thing. It's just going to take time. But eventually, after enough time passes, then you're going to have underwriters. So, that's the fascinating part about it, like Toys R Us or Blockbuster. What did you do? Did you hang on so long to try to squeeze out every bit of it, and then you missed, and then you're out, and then you're done? So what do? First American Title, the largest title company in the world. Do you create your own blockchain? Do you then ultimately say that we, First American, guarantees this and insures this and you're good to go? Or do you hold out, get with all your other cronies, stretch this out as long as possible, lobby for the need for title insurance, and stretch, or do you become an innovator? Or do you find a hedge fund, start a company, and now it's Jim Schaefer Title, and I'm doing exactly what they're refusing to do, hence taking the market share and hence taking away from them until they become obsolete or get on board and scramble to get back whatever revenue they could. It's fascinating, but it's going to be a slow moving. I mean, this is a ship in the ocean, like, trying to, I mean, we're not turning on a dime here.
That's right. Yeah, it'll definitely take time. And I'm curious though, because it does seem like when you go, well, yeah, we need we have to dig through records. And I'm like, man, it's going to be great when there's these on-chain records that are searchable and public and immutable. And so obviously that's emerging. I mean, we have that, but we just don't have that per se. So let's take, for example, and I'm just do this as like a thought experiment for with this. So I understand, so I when I bought my house, there's a title, and you get a title company and they do the whole search and everything. So at that point, they're saying we guarantee this is free and clear. And
it's called the bundle of rights.
Okay, tell me about that.
Your bundle of rights.
Okay.
So I guarantee that you own this land. I guarantee that you can mortgage this land. I guarantee that you and you alone, or you and the parties involved, are the sole owners. I guarantee your bundle of rights.
Okay.
And that is essentially the essence of what a buyer is seeking, because then you can go get your own mortgage on it. You have taxes in perpetuity. So, it's not ever going to be free and clear, because you're always going to have property tax.
I see.
Right. But I am at least going to, in this freeze frame of time, guarantee all taxes paid, or whatever it isn't. Whatever mortgage isn't paid, about it, or you signed it. And the ownership is the ownership. So
okay. So if you did that process, so now we have the information to date, basically, is there a way that I could, or one could then take that over to an on-chain representation at that point, so that from that point forward, now it's like, okay, it was searched till today, and then today was put kind of on chain with that information, like maybe minted as an NFT or something like that. Like, here it is on record. And then now that gets attached to the property as something moving forward. Is that how that might work?
It's definitely how I've considered it, right? Creating NFTs for real estate, issuing NFTs within transactions, creating, and then you're imagining blending all of these different chains, right, to get to this one truth. Because I don't handle your transactions every single time for the history of. So yeah, I mean, I do wonder how that gets played out. But even now, there's databases that can give me a green light in less than 2 minutes to handle a refinance transaction and insure it free and clear. So you're going to get a lot of that too. You're going to get a lot of statistical compilations to just say, yeah, well, since we're doing, 1 million deals this month, we're taking, a little bit more risk, but we're guaranteed we're doing this number of deals. So I don't know if everything's going to get uploaded. I don't know if I just think ultimately there's going to have to be someone to pave the way.
Yep, that's right.
But even with my little tiny agency, like, I don't affect the lion's share of my market. I am a very small part of my market. So even if I created NFTs and did all of that, people would have to be onboarding their own data and then ultimately then melding that data into a singular source for reference.
Yep.
But
Interesting.
what I feel like I'm talking analog. When you have people, you have coders, you have people listening to what I'm saying, you're like, oh yeah, well, that's how they do that. That's how they do that. That's how that would work. This is how you would tie that to that. This is, I mean, you're talking about light speed cross-referencing to get your information. I mean, perhaps, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Right. It's like, I'm not the guy that's going to do that, but like, yeah. And that's why I was asking at maybe not at a technical level, but at a conceptual level, like where you could say, no, I see like the end is in sight, even if it's going to be decades, but the end is in sight for us. Right. Yeah. But because I can see that, I'm just like, oh, I just was a little curious around how you might see that or whatever. Now,
people getting it, like, just even the POAP. I mean, I could do a POAP where it references a transaction. I mean, there are ways to kind of make that a smarter utilitarian token. And then what if I want to be the voice of that and go to other title companies, theoretically my competition, and say, hey, we could do this and we could be doing this for our industry. And now you're a leader of your industry trying to create this on-chain real estate history. I mean, there's a guy smarter than me that have thought about, how to make that, how to execute that.
Yep.
At the same time, I know being an expert at what I do in title, I still feel like there's this hybrid. So what happens when you have an immutable transaction? It's actually an error. And how do you go back in and create that correction to then allow for that insurability without exception? I mean, or maybe what I just said isn't that really that hard. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I'm still just conceptual. I don't have enough of the practical or the technical.
Yep.
To really understand how that plays.
Well, I can really relate to that. And I'm probably not on a dissimilar timeline where you said you were earlier, you said, well, about a year, you were making a video. You said about a year ago, I didn't have any knowledge of this. I didn't have any kind of wallet set up or whatever. So walk me through that journey a little bit. So it sounds like Gary was an introduction point to you to.
That was easy, man. I told you about that 6-minute video that I had with Gary a couple years back. I consumed Gary's podcast like every single day, so much so that I was going back and covering his old podcast to at least have new information. And the more he talked, the more epiphanies that I had in my own business as I ran my business. And I think the benefit for me is I didn't have to unlearn a lot. I just had to kind of put it in its right place to really maximize my own efficiencies and really the things I had been doing that I didn't really kind of see. He showed it to me in a different light.
Yeah.
And primarily, honestly, more than anything else he's ever done for me, he told me that 47 is fucking young. And he got into my head so deeply that I absolutely believe that. And I don't see age and mortality the way I did 5 years ago. That was the thing he did the most for me.
So okay, why unpack that? Like, why was that significant? What did you see it like? Like talk to me about that. Like because that resonates with me as well, but I don't know that I've never been someone that like perceived age. I actually feel like it's slightly a disability. It's weird. Like I'll cuss in front of your kids because I don't, or like I'll talk to like someone who's way too old to be like saying like where I'm like, oh, we could go run over here, but they're like I've always had a way where I like felt like peers with people in age, and it's my wife's always nudging me like you need to like contextualize age groups, but like so. That's a different thing, I think, where I just didn't perceive it. But like for you, you're going, I felt like I'm getting older. I felt like I'm coming maybe to the end of a era or something. And like, just unpack that a little bit. I think there's something there I'm curious to hear more about.
I mean, more than anything, fear of death was the number one thing. Like, I don't want to fucking die. I mean, that was the big one.
Well, that is the big one, right? For everybody.
For sure. And then there's absolutely, what did open my eyes was thinking about my father at 47 or looking at some of these 80s sitcoms and looking at how old these people are in relation to me, and me looking at them like, I don't look like that. Like, I ain't that damned old. I mean, I'm not that old.
Right.
It's not because in my heart and spirit I am young. It's like, I'm not fucking old like that. Like, even now I'm 47 years old. I played football. I mean, I played through college, like kind of like Division II, but I played all the way through my senior year. I don't wake up sore at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I take supplements, I take care of myself to some extent, but I don't feel old. I don't feel slower. I don't feel weaker. I just feel smarter and wiser. So, and I guess, some of the big thing that he did was having all this content. He really got me into doing content because there is this fear of leaving your kids with nothing that you really wanted to say or get down or put down in any way. And I've done now many, many hours. And a lot of the stuff I talk about, it has to come from the heart. So it's genuine, authentic stuff that I'm thinking at the time. And typically it gets into philosophical thoughts, not just, hey, the blockchain's cool. Like it goes deeper. So my kids have that.
Yep.
And that gave me a lot of relief about my own mortality. So I mean, I just kind of thought I had gotten to some place in life and it wasn't going to get any better. Like I was just going to coast. I was just going to cruise. Like, that's it. Like, I got a couple bucks in my pocket. Company's running good. Like, what the hell else do I care? And after listening to him, I'm like, holy shit, the things I could do with this. Like, this is incredible. Like I told him in that video, I built the control room. He walked into it, threw on all the breakers, and he just sent electricity through, like literally through me. And it was just executing the stuff he talked about, but doing it in a way where it was more fluid and it was clearer. I mean, people mocked me after that video because, like, so basically you talk to people and you're really cool and you listen to them and then you hire them or you earn their business. Like, they would mock you because at some point you're getting into a metaphysical place where how do you articulate that?
Right.
How do I articulate that? I love people so much that I want to see them win as much as I want to win with them, that I don't want to stand on top of the mountain by myself. I want everyone with me. And that my legacy is really my tribe, and my legacy has nothing to do with my title company. It just holds all the things I value within it. It's just a shell. I mean, capitalism and money and all that shit. I mean, I don't care. I mean, change the rules tomorrow and there's no money. I'll live and I'll be happy. I won't miss my house or my cars or any of that shit. I'll be fine. And so he just did such a good job of showing me a better way to see that the minute he said, hey, if you believe in me, you need to get this wallet, you need to buy this Ethereum, and you need to be ready for May so-and-so. And at that point, I honestly felt like he had made me hundreds of thousands of dollars more by creating the clarity that I then had to go out and execute with fearlessness. And make what looks like maybe on paper a bad hire or buy that building or do that thing, but bullshit. I doubled down on what I'm good at, and that's caring about people and knowing them and seeing their value and bringing it out. So I went and did it. So when he said go spend money on these PDFs, I'm like, hey, fuck it, Gary, it's house money. I gladly. I almost wrote him a check for 16 grand for that deep dive. I almost just sent the check and said, I don't really need the deep dive, but I feel I owe you. In the video we did, he's like, keep the check. So when he said, buy these NFTs, I'm like, shit, okay, fine. I mean, it's your money. It's house money anyway. I'll do whatever the hell you tell me to do. And that started it though. That was the beginning of, kind of like defending soccer to people from America. Now I'm defending NFTs to people that are still analog in their thinking, like, all right, I'll now do that. I will be that guy to tell the harbinger of the goodness of the blockchain.
So, okay. So you bought some ETH, you got a wallet set up. I'm guessing. So then you minted some friends, I'm guessing on May 11th or whatever it was that they dropped. You did several, right? Because you had a whole little posse with you up at VCon.
I minted a goat. The goat was the thing I wanted the most because the gift goat, if you're not familiar, it's it's a physical, it really at the very beginning, it was just a physical gift. So when you owned a gift goat, you got 6 times a year a physical gift from Gary V. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is like Christmas morning, 6 times a year.
Yeah.
I get some cool stuff. Like,
It's
absolutely.
an
And it's
incredible,
for 3
incredible
years.
token. Yeah.
So it's 18 gifts. Well, he changed it along the way, and I don't think people caught it. I caught it, but he changed it to another NFT along with the physical gift.
Yeah.
He threw that in with it. So all these people, not to get too off topic, that are complaining about the value of these mini V friends, these NFT gifts, that wasn't even in the original contract.
Right.
Now, I guess if you bought it after mint, I suppose then it would matter more, because that's why you bought it, is because of the NFT feature that wasn't an original part. I'll give you that. But I wanted something, being an analog brain, I still wanted stuff I could touch. You know, I still wanted that. I have a shelf across from me. Well, you can't really see it, but anyway.
Oh yeah, I see that you got the Johnny Walker.
Yes, that just
Up
came
there.
in today.
You just got it.
Yes, just got it today.
That's awesome.
So, you know, I mean, I love that part of it. And then I had a little extra Ethereum, because I reached for mine. Like, it dropped to the floor at 5 ETH. You could have bought it for 5 ETH. I bought it at 7.
Yeah.
7.3, because I just couldn't have gotten as far as I got dealing with tying your bank to this damn wallet and understanding a wallet and an NFT wallet. Like, I bought it at 7 because I thought to myself, if I don't get this somehow, I'm going to be heartbroken.
Yeah.
So
I actually, the one that I minted, because it was that Dutch auction, it's falling, and I paid when they hit the floor, I could have got 3 tokens for what I bought the one for, but I didn't know that was going to happen. Right. So yeah, it was the same kind of, And by the way, that
really did.
And even at 7, like, it's like with the amount of already the value of those gifts, both the NFTs and the gifts coming through. And then you have, you halfway through, you're at
year one just concluded. So we're waiting for gift 7.
Okay. So you're at the end of year 1, right? So it's like, and it's just been, and then at VCon, where they announced Beeple is going to do one of the gift NFTs.
Yeah. Well, Snoop, I know Snoop is going to, I think gift 7 is Snoop.
Oh, is it?
Him and Snoop did a collab, and I think that might be that's VCon ticket. You get
VCon,
one too.
Yeah, the VCon tickets is the Snoop collaboration. Which, by the way, the entire thing is just insane. Like people and Snoop, and like it's just ascending in value. Now, you had your son with you up there. How was? Well, I'm curious a little bit. Like, how was that for him? And like, has he been tracking with all of this as well?
Not as much. I mean, honestly, right now he is so into working for the main company, working for Quality Title. Like, he is boots on the ground.
He is working with the company.
Last couple of weeks.
That's
he does work for Quality, and he really is like wholly committed to that building relationship. He's a salesman by nature. He talks to anybody. Great kid, unless you cram him into like the 3rd row of an SUV, then he becomes a little ass when he gets nauseous. but anyway, yeah. So he went. It was great. I'm glad I took him. I just don't think it clicked. I just don't think it clicked for him.
Time.
He didn't dive deep enough. But totally worth it. I mean, I actually have 6 V1s now, because I bought one during this bear market.
Yeah.
And I bought a hyena after. Is that right? There was 4 of us there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll get my 5th VCon. I'll have 6 tickets for next year. And I don't think I'm done. I think during this bear market, I'm buying at least one more, probably a spectacular during this time.
Yeah.
But anyway, I had a little extra money, so I bought a RAM, just a core RAM. And then I got to thinking, and I'm like, you know what? I want more. Like, this feels intuitively. I'm like, my gut's telling me I should go get more. So I ran to the bank instead of like doing all that transfer crap, and I wired money to my MetaMask or whatever, you know what I mean? And then, or Coinbase to MetaMask. And then I bought a lava flamingo and a holographic ram. So I bought those. And I kind of, goats and rams, and I'm a Capricorn. Like, you start to do this thing in your head where, like, I like the flock, I like rams because when I was a kid, I like the ram the most because they're tough, but they're not predators, but they're not to be fucked with. Like, I loved all of the imagery, and I went with it because that plays for me. So
I love it. I love it.
so anyway, that was it. And then I don't know, I bought a lot of mini V Friends. I bought a lot of the series 2. I bought the Emerald Spectacular Jack-o'-lantern in the series 2. I still buy stuff off the floor, so if it's ridiculously priced, I'm gonna buy it because I want to sell subsets. So I would like that first year. So, and I'm just thinking, this is just me thinking about NFTs and value and down the road and how people are going to perceive this. Number one, my gift go will have all 18 gifts. When I sell my gift go, it will be the collection. And I'll even have edited video, because I videoed the day I cried when I got it. Like, I was so like a little kid on Christmas, and I'm an emotional guy. I cried, and all that's recorded. So I'll go back and grab all that video, and I'll sell with my collection, just kind of a 5-minuter, and then probably like a longer version that I want to go along with that, for people to see what that was, how that felt, what that like. I want them to get the visceral response of and it's kind of like, certain people buying your house. Like, I want to sell it to a certain kind of person that is going to appreciate the journey that I went on to get to that place. So anyway,
it's interesting / almost confusing to hear you talk about this with two things. I'll tell you 2 things you're saying. You're saying, man, this was such a powerful thing for me. This is so meaningful, this process. Like, I want, people to be able to know the story, appreciate this. It's such a depth of value you have for this. And yet you're also saying, when I sell it. And I'm curious, like, how you that's what confuses me. Cause like what I was saying is, like, the amount of value you place in that, I would almost guess, had you said, I'm not selling it, had you not said I'm selling, or when I sell or something, it's like, I'm just curious how you think about that as transaction.
Well,
and also that value, like that's an interesting.
I don't like being attached to things. I don't like attachment. And, it's kind of like the Buddhists and the sand art.
Yeah, I love
the hours and hours and hours, and they just blow it into the water. And
yeah, that is beautiful.
That's it. Right. Back to the next one.
Man. Okay. So I'm so glad I asked you that, though. That's great.
Sure.
No, that's it. That's like such a beautiful answer, man. That image.
Like I've said it, and I've been very honest about it. And I think there's a lot of truth to it. What if Gary came to what if Gary went to his NFT community and said, we can literally make clean water for this earth. And if we just did this, we could do it. I'm telling you, man, I would consider, for something like a righteous cause like that, I would, and trusting in the fact that I know he's going to do what he says he's going to do, it would absolutely make me consider just gifting it back for something bigger and better. Like, I would do that. Like, I want to teach my kids how to fish. I don't want to hand them fucking fish anyway. So I don't need to worry about them, because I don't want to cut their legs out from underneath their ability to go through life and the ups and the downs and, the heartache and the celebration. Like, so as far as I'm concerned, I just see the end game to having all this stuff. And that's part of that story too. I collected it. I sold it. That's my story. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. It doesn't have an ending if I die owning the shit,
Yeah, man.
So,
no, it's really beautiful. Well, so that I want to teach my kids how to fish. I want to, because we were mentioning your son a little bit earlier, and he's working with the company. And obviously, I know what you're saying. Like, I don't want to give them things. They need to figure out how to kind of build and do this and that, and in terms of inheritance and entitlement and those kind of things. But like, talk to me about teaching your kids. So back to the idea of work, you kind of came up, you were talking about your dad, like having you like learn work ethic. And I know that's something that's important to parents, instilling in their kids. And maybe a version of thinking about this is like when you picture your son having a son or something like that and go,
Sure.
like, what is it that he's teaching? What is it that he's teaching his children in this kind of lens around like their relationship to hard work, to sacrifice, to investment? Like, you know, what are those things? How have you thought about that with like going, I'm teaching my kid to fish?
I was at this dive bar in my hometown. There's only one of them. And there on a Friday night, this kid walks up to me and goes, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "I don't." He said, "Well, my name's so-and-so, and you coached me in Y basketball." And I said, "I do remember you. You were a dick." And he's like, "Yes, I was." I said, "You know what? And you were also the best athlete on the team, and you were also a leader, but you were just pissed off all the time." And he goes, "Well, I appreciate it. You were like a father to me." Now you got to understand, I coach this kid for 5 months, 2 nights a week. We have a game, we have practice, we have a game, like that's it.
Yep.
And he says that to me. And that, I get it. I understand why. I understand, you know, coming up through households. And you know what? I don't have a Disney fucking movie for my childhood, but it's an after school special, right? I mean, we're getting something out of that bad boy. It's not like I just, right. But, and this kid didn't have that. This kid was shit on, right?
Yeah.
But look at it. I mean, look at the self-awareness. I mean, look at this kid have like, and of course he had been drinking, but that's powerful. Those are powerful moments and fulfilling for me. The best part about that. So I only share that for the backstory, and I do love that part of it.
Yeah.
But him and his buddy, who was not on my team, but we all, you know, it's a very small community. So Y basketball is like the whole damn town goes to these ball games, and it's crammed into this gym with no windows, and it's just like a big pile in. And but both of these kids said, the other kid said to me, he goes, "You know what, Jackson and Mason, these are my sons. Those are the nicest 2 kids I remember from school." And the other guy's like, "Yeah, they're the nicest 2 guys I know." And it mattered, one of them, he said, maybe even too nice. And that did it. I mean, that's it. Like, that's all I give a shit. Like, I may not teach my kids how to invest. Someone else can do that. And I may not teach my kids, you know, title insurance if they don't want to learn it.
Yep.
And I'm never going to hound my sons to go a certain path. I want my kids to be happy and fulfilled, and I want them to be good people. And of course, as I look now as in their young adulthood, you know, I try to very conscientiously and in conversation with them, I'm no longer your dad. I'm your consigliere. I am the guy that is doing what is best for you. I don't care about I don't have an agenda for you. But if you come to me and you seek counsel, I'm going to give you the best possible counsel I can give you, for your journey, for your path. You want to break up with the girl 10 times and go back with her? I'm in. I don't care. You say she's in, she's in. She's out, she's out. But I'm going to back your play. That is my job now. But if you seek counsel, I will give you my absolute best counsel. Hence why I love having all this content on social media, so that maybe they'll never ask me in my lifetime, but maybe they'll go back and find it and have that, you know, on reserve when they were ready to ask. You don't give people advice when they don't ask. You give it when they do.
Yep.
And you take a huge amount of value, you put a lot of value in that. You take some time and you really think about what you're being asked, and you see it through their eyes, not through your own. Criticism is a killer. Guilt is a killer. Shame is a killer. Fuck all of that. I don't care what my kids do as long as they're happy and good to others. And that's I mean, I'm the greatest like millennial dad on the planet. And my kids were not materialistic at all. Like, my kids they've never like leaned into me because I've got bucks or any shit like that. They don't do that shit. They never have. And because I don't give them shit about what they need to be doing or what they need to be making or who they need to be in this world, you know, I'm pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And you know, I just don't see it any other way than that. I'm here for them. I'm here for their path. What can I do? So I have to make my job as a parent is to make sure that they know they have that if they need counsel, it's, you know, it's like a lawyer or a doctor. It stays between us.
Yep.
You know, like, that's all I'm really trying to do. And it's sinking in. They are asking the right questions when they're ready to ask them. So
that's awesome.
I mean, you know, like
That's
shit,
awesome.
man. That's it. Like that's it. But I'm pretty content
How
as a parent.
how do you think about, how would you define success?
All right, one way. I seek the happiest person in the room, and I want to emulate that happiness, that joy, that fulfillment. I want to be like you while I'm celebrating you. I don't give a shit. The richest person, I don't give a shit. I don't care about any of those things other than the highest and best hand in a room is the happiest, most fulfilled. And that comes from you emanate that. It is how you carry yourself. It is how you convey oxygen to carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
And so, you know, success, I measure it. And it's also a great way, like being, and I hate the term alpha, but being an alpha person, you know, the reason why, and alphas get along great together because they figure out who the top alpha is. And once they figure it out, then they're all fucking fine and dandy. Well, I don't really have that metric because what I see as the highest metric of a humanity is being the kindest, most empathetic, thoughtful, and like that's my version. So I really don't ever butt heads. I don't give a shit if you think you're the man or not. Like that's cool. I like hanging out with you, like spending time with you. We're going to continue to do it. So success to me is who's getting the most joy out of life, who's getting the most fulfillment. Money is a metric because money is freedom. There's no way to get around that.
Yep.
But you know, success is having, you know, double digit dear friends. Success is knowing you can call people in double digits and they'd come whenever you needed them. It's tribe. It's a continued growth. There is no, you're never plateauing and you're never hitting the peak. It's always, you know, the journey is the game. There is no end game. It's just the journey is the game. So I don't know. I've always wanted to be a better version of myself. And that's always been the most important thing. I check in with myself every 6 months. Am I the same guy? Or am I a different guy? And do I like that guy more or less than I did the guy from 6 months ago? So,
you know, as you right before you said I check in with myself every 6 months, I was wondering if you had any disciplines that you're using, and then you go, and then right as I was thinking of this question, you go, I check in every 6 months. That sounds like you have a pretty formalized kind of like, I have a point of stop and reflect. Are there other kind of rituals or routines or disciplines that you've kind of like found that are helpful for you to stay the course in that?
you know, after 47 years, I mean, I have had like, I mean, in my 20s and early 30s, I mean, I was heavy into yoga, meditation. I mean, I was a vegetarian for a couple years.
Were you?
I mean, that profoundly affected my views and honestly, my viewpoint, right? I mean, and I've only gotten more practical with it. I mean, I don't meditate hardly at all. I certainly don't. And like yoga, I don't mean like postures. I just mean like yoga, meditative, that kind of stuff. Because I'm taking the practical path to that. I mean, I still would say that is my practice, kind of a Hindu, Christian, esoteric perspective.
Sounds familiar.
But it's about the application of it. You know, it's transcendence, but practical transcendence. You know, I very much love other people and I love life and I love playing a hand in it. So, you know, I don't need to talk about it anymore. I don't need to bring everybody to it anymore, which has helped me with NFTs and talking about blockchain and all that. Like when you're ready, you'll hear it. But I ain't selling. I'm just presenting. Like I'm not selling it.
Yeah.
You know, so but it's very practical. I mean, I talked to I got this thing in the mail that had free therapy through my insurance. I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to somebody for an hour about myself every couple of weeks. So yeah, I mean, like I do shit like that.
Yep.
But you know, like nothing Like I don't do like Tai Chi or any shit.
Well, is the 6 month check-in a pretty serious thing for you? Like you're like, I check in with myself every 6 months. Do I still like me? Am I still on the right track? Like, is that like something like that your calendar brings up or a certain birthday brings up or?
No, I think I think it's just like innate.
Yeah.
If people criticize me, I mean, even that guy on TikTok that was like basically bashing what I was saying. Yeah, I get pissed, but then I really think about it. Then I really ask myself the questions like I defend it. I defend his position. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's just, Gary has said that he was just born a certain way, just born an old soul.
Mhm.
It's not like I sat around and tried to build self-awareness or empathy or any of that shit. All I really did was just see it better in myself to execute better in life.
Mhm.
So, but I've always had that desire to be a better version. It's an innate thing in me that I want to be a better version. I want to be a better parent. I want to be a better boyfriend. I want to be a better dog owner. I want to be a better ex-husband. I mean, I want to be a better son. Like I've always had that in me to where it isn't really something I have to think about. It's something I can lean into. Whereas other things I have to, like, I mean, if you work from home, like, dude, I can literally spin wheels and do absolutely jack shit all day.
Right.
If I'm not careful, I will look in every direction at something that needs to be executed until I do nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that is something I have to work on. Whereas
Mhm.
when it comes to other things, it just like a duck in water. So yeah, it's not nothing too formal. Nothing too
Nice.
formal.
I actually do something pretty formal. So
Yeah.
I have every year and it's my favorite thing that I do actually.
that.
Every year so everyone's all like Christmas time, New Year's, like that holiday break. Everyone's all excited about holidays. I'm excited about this. So I'll take that last week or two of the year.
That's
And
awesome, dude.
and
I love this. I love where you're going with this. I
so
want to maybe do this.
I highly
Anyway.
encourage it. Now, I don't steal away necessarily. Like I'm doing whatever the family's doing, whatever. But like if there's travel or whatever, I use every minute of downtime because typically they're like, don't work so much, whatever. Because I'm a little like, I don't feel like I want off work, but that's the time everyone's kind of taking a break, whatever. So I use that extra time. What I do is I actually print out every single credit card and bank statement for one on the finance side for the year. So I want to look, and then I pull out like all these different color highlighters, and I want to go, what did I spend on through the year? Retroactive, like a look at it, because I want to know, like I say I value certain things, and I want to go, do I value them? Like with my money, like what do I value? Right? Like it's almost like a the 12 steps say they have like searching and fearless moral inventory. Well, then I use like we have these watches that track our sleep and our steps and our things like that. So I'll print all of those reports out for the year. I'll scroll through this is a quick kind of scroll. Like I go through my entire calendar for the year. So like this conversation will be on my calendar. I'll go, oh, right. We had that conversation toward the end of June, or whatever it was. Right. But I look at everything. So I go month by month. I actually pull up a new document. I write the heading of every month. So I start in January and I look at every social media post. I scroll through all of the emails I did. I look at my calendar and I try to extract the highlights of the year or the lows of the year, whatever. And I try to get at a glance my year mapped out. And I love this. So like what you'll end up seeing is like, say for instance, like my sleep really falls off at some point. And I'm like, man, I really wasn't sleeping well, like in July. And then I go, well, what was on the calendar? What was going on in the email? And you actually start finding like overlaps. Like, well, that's right after I got sick or I got on that new medicine or like, that's, that thing happened then. And then I get so excited about mining my own life for this data that then I can't help but look at the next year. So I immediately out of that go, well, next year, what do I want? Mm-hmm. Do I want to sleep better? I want to work out more. I want to lose some of this weight. I want to, whatever it is. And so then my goals naturally get written kind of out of this reflection process. And I've been doing it now almost a decade. And I it's like my favorite thing I do all year. Like even telling you about it, I get so excited about this process.
Awesome.
I'm like, and it's an interesting, I recommend everybody do it. And like, cause you didn't have to do a bunch of now I do a bunch of stuff now to do myself a favor later on. So I'll like try to track things cause it's hard to get it all together at the end of the year. So now I do things to prep for that because I know I'm going to do it. But like when I first started, it's like, oh, let me just scroll through all my tweets. You know, what was I thinking about in May and what, or where was my mind at when like dad passed away at that one point or whatever that thing is, trying to go through those. Anyway, so when you said I have this like check-in, I was like, oh, I have something like that. But mine is actually like a pretty, I do like a little like come to Jesus with myself with that. Like I print out all those credit card statements. The answer always is your God is your stomach is what the credit card statements conclude. It's like, oh, you really like to spend money on food and drink. And I go, okay, that's probably not what I want to do next year. And then I'll do it again. And but I'm constantly wrestling with that piece to me.
Yourself room, right? You're
trying bro, it is what it is. It's like you just that's it. It's like, but I don't want to be oblivious or mindless about those things. But yeah, that's why I was curious about that process for you too. And you know what I didn't really think is like, do I still like myself? That's a good question to add to that. It's like, yeah, well, you want to like yourself and then love yourself and do what's right by yourself so that you can be that better son, that better father, that better boyfriend, that better employer.
Absolutely. And I can still be quite a dick.
I can imagine. As can I.
But I'll tell you though, this ties into what you're saying. I love to, and I've done this a lot in the last 2 years, where I love to get these big giant pads of paper and I like to pin them on my wall and I like to kind of storyboard the big idea. Mm-hmm. And I do it with some, and I'm getting ready to do that now with blockchain, NFTs, the title company, the mining company. I'm getting ready to really do exactly what you're saying. What do I really love? If I could do what I truly love, if you talk so big about NFTs and how amazing they are, the vehicle that they are, because they can literally be anything, then don't you have to go back to the essence and truth of yourself if you want to do a project and do that project from the parts of you that you love the most and things that you get out of life that you love the most? Are you doing that? Mm-hmm. And so now that's really, I've got cork board that I'm going to put up in my loft space, which I do want to show you sometime because I bought that big swing table and I'm I just gutted I gutted the staircase in my loft above my living room. Like I redid the whole room and this is the final steps. And I'm going to like storyboard up there to then decide, kind of like my NFT thinking space is literally what it is.
Yeah.
But I have to kind of stop and look at, well, what if I could do anything? What would I do? Right? What would I do? Like, and if you think you can put anything into an NFT, then why are you not doing the things that you love the most? Mm-hmm. And that's really where I'm headed with all of this is I need to stop and take a look at the broadest view I can get.
Yep.
To see how I'm going to come down into the practical, the utility, the execution. But that's exactly what I'm doing, which really ties into a lot of what you're saying.
Yeah, it is, you're right. It is a related process. It's like, and everything you're saying, like excites me as well. I got this huge whiteboard that I have. I'm like, that's my brain is that way. It's not, I'm not good with an Excel sheet, but I'm good with scribbles and connecting the dots and big picture lines.
Me too. Absolutely.
Like
100%.
When you were talking earlier about, I wanted to circle back to this because you had talked about this, like, you're like initially with the age thing, you were talking about like, well, there's a fear of death. And then you, at one point, then later you referenced like, well, that's partly why I'm really glad I'm putting a lot of these videos online,
Mhm.
because you are creating things that will live on after you. I'll put it this way. Here, let's frame it this way. So there was a study done years ago. I'm not gonna be able to cite it exactly, but there was there was a survey of a bunch of people on their deathbed, hundreds of people that were like old folks home, about to die, about to pass away in their
I like where this is going.
final years. And they said, what, if you could do it all again, what would you do different? And so there were people gave lots of different answers, as you'd imagine, but like when they compiled all these answers, there were three answers that were said more than anything, that far exceeded. This is what people said more than anything. They said, I would reflect more, I would risk more, and I would try to do more things that would live on after me. And it's interesting because I've heard these elements in your own story. Like I check in with myself every 6 months. Well, we're taking more risks, but we're doing a certain amount of things. And then I'm trying to encapsulate these things into video. And I'm just curious, like, these are questions given to people on their deathbed. Obviously, you are not on your deathbed, but like, as you think of like, well, what would I do differently if I'm assessing backwards today? But then also like, how are you thinking about mortality, which you use that word, and a fear of death, and then like what lives on after you, and how are you thinking about that today? And that could be practically, philosophically, or whatever. I think
Well, it
that's an
all kind of
important
ties
question.
together on some level for
Yeah,
sure.
that's right. That's right.
I have my answer at 47 years old. You asked me that question. My reply is not a fucking thing. And, part of that is because I was adopted, and I knew I was adopted from knowing what adoption means. So, my first ability to understand what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then I found my birth mother 5 years ago, and we have a really good relationship.
Wow.
And God, we are so similar in so many ways, which is
Really?
fascinating to watch the whole nature and nurture thing and all of that. But we have a very good relationship. But of course, it get to this place where asking these questions, well, what if she kept me? And, the answer to that question is, well, that just negates everything that I know that is who I am.
That's right.
And so I'm playing my highest and best as best I can.
Yeah.
And I don't want regrets. And I try to live a life where I don't have regrets. And I'd say we can go back to it. I might have one regret, and I don't even know, I think I could undo it, which I would share. But I really, of all the things that are me, it is my intuition that gives me the greatest peace. It gives me motivation. It gives me clarity. It gives me solace. It gives me comfort. I think gratitude that really isn't applied to anybody is like prayer. I think when you feel genuine gratitude in your own existence, it's like just telling God you love him. I mean,
Yeah, that's right.
to me, it's a very practical, real relationship when I just feel fucking good. And I just appreciate all the things, and not all good, but just that's mine. It's mine. That's my life. That is my shit. Those are my wins. Those are my losses. Like, celebrate the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
And so but as you kind of like, I have one foot in my youth and one foot in old age. I mean, in a way, right? And I start to get more comfortable with the idea, and it's truly, why would I worry about the 11th hour when I'm in the 4th? Why am I afraid of death when I am 10 years old? It's not time to be thinking about those things. It's yes, you are mortal, but right now you feel like a god. So be the god. And as I think that if you're in tune with yourself, and I truly try to be, as my mortality comes a knocking, I think that I believe truly that I will find peace as I get closer to that day. And so why am I And so part of the whole fear of death thing I've put kind of aside because I ain't dying anytime soon. And I'm not wasting my time. I mean, you
Mhm.
do find that time is the most valuable thing we have, not money.
Mhm.
You know, what are we doing with our time now? And I think we touched on it when you talk about you taking account for the year and
Mhm.
but don't be too hard on yourself, right? Like
Never.
love it. Love the shit to like
Yeah.
I just pissed off a whole year, but I
Yeah.
had some fucking fun. Made some new friends
Yeah.
and I went to VCon. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like what the hell? Being hard on yourself, self-loathing is just as bad as narcissistic self-love. I
Mhm.
mean, you have to find this place in between that allows you to kind of walk the razor's edge of your own life.
Mm.
And you know, I don't want to have any regrets, and I certainly don't want to say what I would have done more. I answer. I don't have it. I'll have an answer. Not a fucking thing.
Good.
I
I love
believe
that.
in.
I
I
love
believe
that.
in reincarnation. I believe in the eternity, the immortality of the soul. I believe that I will never be Jim Schaefer again, but my soul goes on.
Mm.
And you know, and I don't believe that no matter what you do, you end up in heaven. I think that's horseshit. But I think that the soul in itself is immutable. And you know, we continue. This is just the beauty of living as Jim Schaefer through this lens in this life. And I'm gonna make the most of it. And I don't have a damn thing I would have done different other than something kind like hug more people, give more compliments, you know, tell people I love them more.
Mm.
But even in that, it's kind of a plastic response because because I'm not doing that. I'm not. I
Yeah.
refuse to do that shit.
Yeah.
I played the best I could. I did my best. There was no fucking owner's manual sitting next to me when I was born. So
Mm.
fuck that. Like,
Yeah.
go, baby. You just keep going, you know? Anyway.
I love that. Man, it's really good. Well, dude, man, I have so much of um your approach to life really resonates with me. I mean, it genuinely does. Like temperamentally, I think there's like a real resonance, and
Absolutely.
it's just cool to see, man, someone that's been able to like love their life, love their kind of game, and stay in it. And man, it was like such a joy to kind of connect with you and your son and your little crew up at VCon. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys again next
Oh
year.
yeah,
That's one
absolutely.
of the things that I'm so excited about with this community is that like we're gonna see each other again. You know what I'm saying? Like we're gonna be doing that. God only knows where the next one will be, but we'll be getting together again. And it sounds like you'll be bringing a few more of your crew
That's
along.
right. That's right. I'm renting an RV, I think, on this one, brother.
Yeah, hopefully it's somewhere we can drive it to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna find a way, dude. I'm gonna figure something out. But yeah, I'm bringing a posse.
Man, I love it. Well, dude, is there anything for those listening, like a place to that they should follow you? You mentioned like doing a bunch of stuff on TikTok. Are there places that people could get in touch with you or follow you if they were looking to connect with you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, I really did set up my TikTok, you know, because of it. I kind of live in this really small universe in real estate in central Indiana, and people really like they don't want to fucking hear about NFTs. They don't want to hear about the metaverse. They don't want to hear about that shit. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I don't want it to work against me. So TikTok has been my place to actually go and put out shit that is
Mm,
really kind of how I see where we're at, the zeitgeist.
yeah.
Oh, see, can you hear my shit?
No, I can't, but I just did the same thing on my end.
So I'm Jim Schaefer 5.
Okay.
So my TikTok is Jim Schaefer, which SCHAEFER number 5. And that's where I really do kind of like throw it all out there. There's one of us at VCon. There's some of us road tripping to VCon. But yeah, that's where I really talk about how I'm looking at all of this and right now and how I relate to it. And it does affect. I have watched the internet be born. I did watch social
Yeah.
media be born. You know, I am watching this blockchain be born, but but the difference is I've seen it from beginning, middle to end. So a lot of this has to do with that analog digital perspective, but having a good attitude about it, not trying to stop fucking saying that the generation before us was the best and that our kids are going to fucking ruin it. You know, Socrates said that shit. Get off that fucking shit. Like, why do we have to hate everything that we don't understand? And at what point do we stop doing that? Like, I remember some lady just jumping my ass about COVID. What's real? And it's all, I didn't say it was fucking real. I just said, don't be afraid. Why live in fear? Like, that is a horrible approach. I'm not saying COVID is bullshit. I mean, it's bullshit, but it's just, and you know, that's that's really my only message right now. I'm not selling anything. I'm just stopping to take time to address the importance of the thing.
So let me ask you that, because I know you're referring a little to technology in this, but COVID's another example, so that's good. But like with technology, like, why do we hate everything that we don't understand? And it occurs to me, so you know that a lot of my work is with folks who live on the streets, a lot of folks who struggle with mental illness, a lot of folks that have drug addiction, and I would, it's weird, but I go, there's a very similar reality with the stranger, especially the disheveled stranger, right? Like, and there is a way in which we hate what we don't understand. And I think about that in diversity. If we live in different neighborhoods, we don't resemble one another, or they look like poor people.
I love you, man. Just so you know that I love you, man.
Thank you. I love you too. And it's like, we hate what we don't understand. And I've actually interviewed, this is, there's a philosopher that I interviewed, this guy, Jerome Miller, who he told me he was writing a book about the future. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. What about it or whatever. And his former writing had been a lot about like suffering. He actually wrote a lot about suffering and like this reflection on encountering the other with like a capital O, right? And he actually said, and I've been chewing on this for a while, but I feel like what you just said speaks to this, is like, he said, your posture toward the future is the same as your posture toward the other. Like, he's like, just look at people. I promise you it's the case. He's like, look, like you actually go, I'm open to what's coming. Why do we have to hate this stuff just because we don't understand it? And you have an openness and an excitement about these things that are emerging, which makes me go, probably you're an open person when someone knocks at your door or comes by your window or needs some help. It's like, I'm not going to be governed by fear of the other. I'm going to open myself to you, be vulnerable, to go, yeah, let's engage here. And it really hit me hard when he said it. It was like, oh, these are like the same thing. And it just gave me an interesting like way to look at tech in the future. Like, what is this thing? It actually is the big
next 5 days,
right? It's like, this is the stranger knocking at the door. Right. You don't know where this is going. And it is
the unknown. I mean, it's all fear of the unknown,
which is
more of a real application of what you're,
That's exactly right. And it's actually interestingly related to the fear of death, which in many ways is the fear of the unknown. Why you don't open your door to strangers is they'll kill you. like at the end of the day, it's like, well, they might kill me. And it's like, well, I'm afraid to die, so I can't welcome the stranger.
Yeah.
The most basic kind of charge of hospitality.
This is interesting. This ties to that.
Good.
I was at one of the bars right by our hotel, the one kind of down around the corner that was hard to get to past the fire station.
Okay.
Anyway, we're at this bar and I met this couple and they're getting ready to get married or something, or they're going to a wedding. I don't know if I feel like they just went to a wedding. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Shut up, Jim. Point is, this girl wants to talk about NFTs. And I'm telling her all about it, and I'm passionate, but I'm like, they're not bad or good. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I see it as good, but you don't have to. You got to explain to me why you see it as bad, which there is a lot of bad going on, right? I mean, there's a lot of scams and bullshit and FOMO and all this crap. But anyway, so she's really raising her voice to me because, basically it's the whole PDF thing. I don't understand it. And she's like still like elevating, like she's really starting to, like, people are watching because this gal is yelling at me about how stupid it all is.
Mhm.
And I'm like being pretty open. Like, I don't care if you like it or not, but you asked me to explain it to you. I'm explaining it to you. Well, what happens if, and it basically came down to a worldly catastrophic event that is why she doesn't want to get involved in NFTs. Like, if all the servers and all of the world go down, then where's my NFT? I'm like,
Bro.
honey, no, I did not disrespectfully feminize honey. I said, you have to understand that if that's the case, everything else you know as yours is gone too.
Yeah.
You've literally taken us down to,
Some-
acts of God that
Yeah.
we don't like. So maybe, and then she kind of stopped and paused and said, oh, well, I think I'll look more into that. Thanks. Like, we got down to the world ending, some killer meteorite.
Yeah,
before
yeah,
she
yeah.
was ready to leave. But I loved it. We broke it down to no
Mhm.
life left to then
Mhm.
kind of build it back to where she's like,
Talk
okay.
about fear setting. Talk about
I'll
fear
look into
setting
that.
as yourself. Well, what's interesting is even as you were talking about these videos that you're posting and the access that your kids or grandkids might have to these things, I'll just say this. This is maybe the opposite side. Like that's like the end of the world kind of scenario for that kind of thing to disappear on on this decentralized system of nodes. Whereas like just a couple weeks ago, I have this old YouTube channel that I reference sometimes that I have another one now, but I had this old YouTube channel, these old vlogs I made back in the day, and I still link to them here and there. And someone asked me for something. I was like, oh, I have a video about that. I'll send it to you. It's really old, whatever. And I went to pull it up and it's gone. And then I was like, wait a minute. So I go to the channel and it's gone. And then I go to my other website to like go to the link and it's dead. And they're all gone. So I've been going back and forth with YouTube, with Google and YouTube, trying to go, is it resurrectable? Is it still on your servers? Like, is there something you could do about this? But like, what a reflection on the vulnerability of centralized systems. Like this isn't replicated on computers all over the place. This is on like their server. And the day they want to flip the switch and it's gone, all those videos for your grandkids.
So is
they're
that
not
coming
there.
then? A decentralized social media platform?
So there are a lot of people working on these kind of things. There actually are.
Never even
there-
crossed my mind.
There are experiments with this right now. I mean, none of them are very impressive. But yeah, there are actually, so there's one called BitClout, which is kind of interesting, built on like a Bitcoin type thing. But it's interesting because like if you post something, it's on chain. Like like whatever you made a comment, you don't go delete that comment because it went on chain. And so there's like,
I mean, oh, right. No, I love it. I mean, that's brilliant. Oh God, that's like a tattoo, dude.
yeah.
Like,
It's right.
Oh my God, you said that. Like, I'm not putting shit on there.
Oh, you were all tweeting while you were drunk.
But think about even now, like Pioneer 11, right? It's way out. It's the man-made satellite that is furthest from Earth, and it's got these big giant discs of information on them because it was launched in the 70s. So these discs are essentially what scientists and philosophers and all these people put together as to somehow encapsulate what the human on Earth existence is. And it only fascinates me from the perspective of, think about the blockchain and think about all of these things that can ultimately become the discs that are on Pioneer 11 that would now be like blockchain, and how much more data would it actually entail than just those, like it's like at some point it's kind of like the human existence from this year forward is all
I know
here. Like just the thought of it is fascinating. It's fascinating.
Man, it really
Just
is.
I don't even know if I'm going to do an NFT project. I don't know if I ever will.
Right.
I don't know if I need to. I don't know. I'm asking myself that question now. But to be here, to witness this.
That's right.
Asking
It's
grandma
exciting,
about
isn't it?
going
Yeah.
from horses to cars.
Yeah.
Like
that's
this
right.
is that moment that is just, it's like I'm thrilled just to watch.
Me too.
I'm thrilled just to see it. And in 50 years, I plan to fucking be here.
Yep.
And that's like the 100 that went before us as far as the pace, the rate of play for tech. So anyway, I just
Yeah.
don't know if I want to be an observer and an investor, or if I really need to get into the creator side of it. I don't know yet. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it matters.
Yeah,
It's not the point.
my approach all along has been as student, where I go, well, I want to dabble. So like, oh, I'm gonna do these POAPs and set these up, and then I'm gonna do this thing. And it may be because something needs to happen, something needs to emerge, but it's a little like I see like a tidal wave coming in, right? Like not just a tide, but like, and I'm like, I want to know how to swim. That effectively is it's like, I want to know how to swim, because
Those are
I
my
don't
videos.
want to
That's
be,
beautiful.
what's that?
That's beautiful. Learn how to swim.
That's it.
That's really what my shit is.
Mhm.
Know how to swim now, so that you can like backstroke when you have to. Like,
Right, correct,
At least know how to
correct.
tread right now.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
It's exactly it. And so
Yeah.
even as like the bear market hit and everyone's like, and I understand people are hurting right now, but like, and not just crypto markets, all the markets.
Right.
But for me, I didn't have a ton of money to use to begin with, but everything that I used, I considered tuition. And because I considered it tuition, I'm getting what I paid for, which is
Mhm.
education. And so I never thought about this as some financial investment that's going to reap financial returns, although some of it may or may not. But it's like, but what I was doing was I'm going, oh, I'm trying to buy. It's like you would pay for a college course. Like
Yeah.
I'd pay for that. Well, I'm paying
Yeah.
for this so that I
Yeah.
can get in and play and dabble. So it's like, yeah, maybe you make something as like a project. Like
Right.
I'm trying to learn here. And then
Right.
that gives you more tools and education to go, yeah, maybe I do have a way that I'm gonna like, shit, maybe you're the one that figures out how the titles end up on chain, right? But like you're not, it's not your, like, you know, that today you go, well, today I know I'm having a great time. I'm super excited to watch all this play out. I want to learn as much as I can and be like competent enough to be helpful to the people around me when they start paying attention.
You know, I hate the Beatles, and most people think that's a terrible thing to say.
Uh-huh.
But I remember Paul McCartney, I read a quote and somebody asked him, what's the best song you ever wrote? And he said, I haven't written it.
Mm.
And that truth, that profound statement resonates
good.
with me all of the time. So if I'm afraid to share an idea, share the idea. To
Mhm.
execute that is 1,000 steps. Don't
Mhm.
think that you're, even if it's a brilliant idea, to execute that is so difficult. So I just still think that about my own life and my own execution. Like I know what intuition feels like, and I know when it won't shut the hell up and I need to make something happen. I'll know it. And if you feel a little bit FOMO, or you feel a little bit like I might be missing it, I might be missing this, bullshit. That's fear. That doesn't do dick.
Yeah.
It's the intuition you're seeking, not fear wrapped in a pretty box that says, well, you have to, I just have to wait. I didn't come this far to exploit or make a buck even.
Yeah.
I'm not here to make money.
Yeah.
I really would arguably say I'm going to have a lot of money from these investments that I've
Mhm.
made if I hang on to them.
Mhm.
But that was not the goal. That was not why I did it.
Right.
And like I said, maybe I'll give the shit away. I mean, I don't know, but I've always been so profoundly interested in, especially asking elderly people about times before.
Yeah.
I've always loved history. I've just had such a passion. My dad said, you're not studying history, you're not going to be a history teacher. That is not how you're going to make money.
Mm.
And that ended my desire to do history, right?
Really?
But I love but I like that. And that's why I like being here now. Maybe that's enough, you know? I'll just record it as I'm watching it, as it's passing me by. Or like you said, you're in class, and right now we're doing our undergrad.
Yeah.
And maybe once we graduate, then all of a sudden it's all going to click enough to where you're going to have that new part of your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And
you go in that room with your all your paper all over your cork board, and you go, you know what? I actually have a lot of the pieces in place already. And maybe, it's like, maybe it just comes clarity. I am
Well,
curious.
an extreme focus creates manifestation. I mean, if I'm obsessed about something, obsessed to the point where I'm trying to execute, I'm trying to think about, I'm trying to focus creates the manifestation. And if I focus on success in some format, it will manifest. And it has many, many times before. You can also manifest failure. Those people who say I'm not lucky, I never win anything. Stop fucking saying that shit. Your mantra is negativity and you got to quit. Like you're dying by your own mantra of bad. Do it the other way around.
This is something I think a lot about. And I actually, so like, it's weird because on the positive version of that, when you put that in a positive frame, it sounds a little woo woo, right? It sounds a little like, some kind of like weird woo woo thing. However, when you watch it in the negative, like you watch people that bitch and complain, and I'm like, you know what's funny? It's as if a rainy cloud follows you around. Like the temperature changes when you come in the room, and not for the better. We can almost smell it. Like it's like you show up and it's like, things never go my way. And it's like, well, not with that attitude. Like you're blind to opportunities. You're blind to all the it's like to be able to look at a room and say what's wrong rather than what's possible or what's, it's like, I don't see a problem. I see an opportunity. I see an opportunity to make this room better because I could fix that. I could build something. So then my mind goes back to the positive. It goes, well, then this can't just be some woo-woo spiritual idea. This is actually like very practical. Like if you have a mindset that's into growth and challenge and up for the game ahead of you, it's like when you walk in, one, you see what you can be grateful for. Well, thank God those things are in order and okay, right? And I can have some like gratitude and appreciation for what's working and what's right in any circumstance. And then also to go, I mean, if something's not right, then roll your sleeves up. And to me, that's like at the heart of something around like what work ethic is born out of, right? It's like, because I actually think that negative mentality is, and it is actually, I can get on this and be like insensitive to things like, let's say clinical depression. And I don't want to do that. I understand people's brain chemistry gets whacked and it actually gets like, you can go comatose. It's hard to get out of bed, whatever. And yet at the same time, the medicine you need is to get out of bed, right? To get into the sun. Like it's some effort, it maybe Herculean effort of the will to like get up and do. Right. But at some level, I'm like, man, like, it seems to me that quicksand, that black hole, that like road to hell is really just made up of like, it's weird. You said extreme focus creates manifestation. That sounds like an extremely woo-woo thing to say, but I'm like, if you extremely focus on what is wrong and what is not working, you are going to manifest hell.
I think you just made that less metaphysical, which is another one of my favorite things that I tell myself. Action is the antidote for despair.
That's right. That's it.
That precedes focus creates manifestation. What precedes that is action is the antidote for despair. If I feel desperate, what do? The smallest little fucking thing I can think of to make me feel a little bit better, to gain momentum, to stop the snowball, to push it back, and then to keep going and continue these small steps to execution. I tell you, I can feel it almost instantaneously. And then I'm asking myself, how the hell did I get this far back before I took control and push back? But that's it. I mean, for me, that creates a lot of peace. And sometimes it's as simple as getting my car washed.
Yeah.
Or like putting tennis shoes on instead of flip-flops because I'm serious and I need to have traction to do the next thing. It's like putting on armor in a way.
Yeah.
There are days when I feel like not fucking with the day where I'll put on like army green pants and a black t-shirt because I'm going to war with this motherfucker. I want to win this day. And I'm not giving up. Like, man,
that works. That stuff works.
Yeah, little shit. But then if the focus is as the energy shifts into a plane of I don't know, a manifestation, your focus does become you do manifest your focus.
Well, no, and that seems right, man. When I get obsessed about things and I zero my attention in on them, it's like, well, if I zero my attention in on them and I'm a productive, and working person, then you know what's going to happen when I focus on something? I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow, I'm going to build. That's just what's going to happen.
For sure.
Like you can't just not pay attention to
Well,
something
that's
and
the
nothing
thing,
come
your
of it.
attitude through the process, even if it doesn't meet the expectation when you want to complete said process, you just basically allowed yourself to elongate that so you don't have expectation because you're learning the whole way.
Yeah.
And that creates that, all right, well, I'm a little disappointed. I'm not fucking done yet. All right, still got to struggle through this. But the way you describe it allows for more time. So that
I actually don't love the idea of being done with a lot. I mean, I like if I'm tiling a floor, I like to get up and go, look, it's done. I do like closing a task, but in the big brushstroke of stuff, like the idea of like retirement or ending the game, like that seems crazy to me, because I actually, and this is part of the like what prompted me wanting to have this show to begin with, was a reflection on our relationship to work. And I thought we like coupled it with employment too much. And I have a lot of friends that are unemployed, but I'm like, dude, you need to work, like build something, work on something, do something. Like, it doesn't matter if someone's employing you or not. That's like beside the point. And as I see all this tech developing, I'm going, a lot of y'all are not going to be employed. Humans need not apply for lots of jobs, cashiers and drivers and you name it. Title people like at some point, right? It's like, look, there's this is going to get replaced. And so then I'm like, well, I actually think that it's really important that we have a proper sense of relationship to the value of work, like what it produces in us to pick up heavy things and to do hard things. And I think like you go, action is the antidote. I wrote that down. Action is the antidote to despair. I think that's super wise and actually is to the point of what I'm trying to say. Like, if you just like, if you don't work, like people I know that live on the streets and don't have employment, a lot of them are hard workers. Now there's different challenges. They got to work their ass off to get across town to get a meal, whatever. Like they're not lazy, but there's some that are lazy. Right. And it's like, but when you see someone who does not apply themselves to anything, whether they're on the streets or they're just like rich and they don't need to, whatever, you watch them die. I'm like, dude, you need to work like you need to eat. Like you're going to die.
Like when you retire and you die.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens.
I mean, it's we've seen it happen. We've watched people do it, So no, I agree. It's like, what about Bob?
That's a great movie. It's such a good movie.
Baby steps. Sometimes I gotta tell them, take baby steps, dude. You're not getting shit done. You're just spinning in your head. Now you're gonna watch Star Wars. Stop. Baby steps, motherfucker. Okay, you get 20 minutes, right? Give you 20 minutes to watch TV, and then you're gonna go do like you're negotiating. With, it's like, this is not a time to escape. This is not a time to run away. This is time to buckle the fuck down and get it done. So definitely. But that's the human condition, isn't it?
Well, and
doing the shit we want to be doing.
And what's interesting to me is that's what I love about how these conversations play out. It's like, I want to ask you, like, tell me about your work. Tell me about things you're working on. But like what we get to is, man, this is the human condition. And actually there is something about work that is a gift to mankind. Like you get to work, you have capacity to contribute to your family, to your community, to your relationships, everything you've been saying. I want to be a better boyfriend, a better father, a better neighbor. It's like that takes work.
Better boss.
Oh, boss. You said boss.
A boss, a better boss, a better leader.
I misheard. I think said better balls.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think about my balls. We're good.
I don't think about them at all. I love it, man. Well, hey, dude, I really appreciate you taking this time. And actually, I want you and I to find some more time to engage when we're not necessarily recording here as well. But is there any like final kind of words you have for folks listening? Any kind of like things you want to invite them to, challenge them to?
I mean, it's honestly, I don't care what people are doing. Just like you said, learning how to swim. The ocean of the blockchain is coming. Like you can either go with the flow or try to fight it in the storm, but do something every day or at least once a week, whether it's a podcast or an article or even just Google something basic that you
Yeah.
heard,
Yeah.
just spend 5 to 10 minutes, like knowing a little bit more about what all of it actually means. So you don't think that an NFT is just a PDF of
Mhm.
something. Like it just, the blockchain is fascinating, but it's like learning Chinese underwater too, with all this stuff. Like, start now. Maybe while
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
above water,
and it evolves. So I'll echo that and say, yeah, and whether you love it or hate it, how about we set aside the need to assess this and call things good or bad and just say, we'll see,
Yeah,
but
yeah, for
it's
sure.
happening, right? So,
Yeah,
you know, this is like
it
the
is.
some of the stuff with like, you know, some like the automation and robotics and AI and stuff. It's like people will be like, I don't think this is good. And I was like, okay, it doesn't matter what you think. It's
Right.
happening. So we can set aside like, is it good or bad for a minute? It's happening. Like drivers are going to be out of work. Cashiers are going to be out of work. That's what's happening. That's just how it's going to go. So we're going to have to figure this landscape out. And I would say it's probably good to educate yourself, love it or hate it, just to go, well, this is what's happening. Maybe you can learn the ropes a little bit around blockchain,
For
around
sure.
some of these emerging technologies. So that's, I'll
For
just
sure.
echo his advice, guys. I think that's
100%.
really good advice. It's not something it's not a drum we beat a ton on the show, but lately I've talked to more and more folks involved in the space because that's how that's going to go. And so it's coming up more and more.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, well, dude, I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
I actually really,
definitely touch base
I
again.
love, oh, I absolutely will. I'll be reaching out and we'll be in
Good.
touch again soon, man.